takes us live. It is the AsyncVoter weekly kickoff meeting. Here we are. So, on my mind about AsyncVoter, nothing in particular, but I know that Brent, you've got a new client to show us. Michael, do you have anything AsyncVoter-ish that you wish to bring up or share?
No, I'm just here to see what's going on and maybe.
All right.
See if I get interested.
I think have the floor. Yeah, Brent, you have the floor. You've been hard at work.
Yeah, let me. Okay, I've got issues sharing my screen, so I'm going to have to reload and come back in. So apologies.
Oh, no problem at all. Okay, well, in the meantime, I'll grab up the link that you shared previously.
I think I wasn't here last week, right? Because of
it was Wednesday last week. It was. I think you were here last week, Michael. I think
maybe I did attend.
I think you did. I think you did, and I think we were. We kind of. I got the Node terminal up, and then I kind of like used the REST client to make a request. And if it's not too boastful of me, I can say I inspired Brent to do this incredible amount of work. That's so much more than I did since last week. Yeah, so you've created a whole client here.
Yeah, so it's got all the basic functionality.
Yeah.
So yeah, oh, I thought that was my screen, but that's your screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, once you've created the client, you can get all stories, which will return all the stories in the API from the API.
Wonderful.
You can list a specific story by providing a story ID.
Yeah.
Create a new story. Again, you just provide an object to create the story.
Wonderful.
You can update a story. Although I have a question about that. So I think at the moment, and I think this is probably the by design, is you can only update the size. So you can't seem to update any other field. I've not had a chance to look at the API code, but I think that's probably by design.
Probably.
And then votes again. Yeah, you can create a new vote by providing a story ID and then details of the vote, and then you can list all the votes. So it works. It's the code is not, I think there needs to be some validation and thing built into the code. Now, I've not done any testing, so I've never actually done any TDD or BDD with JavaScript. So I was really looking for some advice on what direction to take with that. And once I start to add new functionality to it, I do want to take that more of a BDD approach. I mean, my testing so far has been quite literally using this file. Most of it's commented out, but I'm just testing it.
Manually testing.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, but well, a fantastic. But shall we just move this over to Azure Ventures while we're on it?
Yes, I meant to do that actually earlier today, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking the first time I clone it, and then I won't have to change it afterwards. Yeah, no, this is a great start, and we could even start just in the session today, in the absence of anything else. We could start to put some TDD in there. I spent a few days doing athletic reps on generating TDD frameworks for Node myself. I guess those could all go into the AsyncVoter team. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, coolly, woolly.
So that should be there now. Yep, it's there.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and we could even create some issues and what have you. Yeah, I mean, what we're all moving towards is, he said, of course. Is that we've done that there? No, that was middleman. AsyncVoter API. Oh, that'll do.
Yeah, because one thing I do need to handle, and again, that's something we can talk about. But at the moment, the API URL is hard coded into the module, so we need a way of having a default API, but letting people, change it from staging to production to whatever.
Indeed. So yeah, let's have a little look-see. Yes. So and then there's environment variables and so on. Yeah, but I mean, great work getting that all set up. So I mean, I guess what I would tempted to, I guess, can we open a single issue on here and say that the issue is add test framework?
Yep, makes sense.
Mocha and Chai. Now, the one I've been doing is getting set up with Mocha and Chai for unit tests. So I'm tempted to sort of put that into place in a sort of robotic fashion. We could, of course, talk about the different bits and pieces. For testing we've also got the issue of this hits like an endpoint, and so there's kind of then, are we running it in a sandbox with a cache? Are we stubbing out things? And then there's that. But
yeah, so these are the questions I had, because do you want to be talking to a real API because it's a client? Do you know what I mean? Or would you,
sure.
would you be stubbing it out, sort of thing, or mocking it?
And I think there are lots of options there that we can get into. I guess I'm just sort of step back up one level and say, is there anything else that needs to get done? I don't know that there is. Well, this is kind of the key thing, isn't it? I'm just reflecting on, we've got our system is currently storing everything in Redis. We would like, as well as storing in Redis, to push things out to our API that then other folks can consume, for whatever nefarious purposes they have. And so
there is one missing functionality. So what I did, I went to the API, the actual async API documentation, and I implemented all the actions that are listed there. But I think there's an action list missing, which probably is implemented already in the API. I just haven't checked. Is that we need to, where the user wants to update their vote.
Right.
So you can update the size of the story, but we need the ability to update a vote. So that needs to be added, but I haven't added it yet because I wasn't sure if the API supported it yet.
Well, so maybe you could quickly open a ticket on the the relevant repo. I guess what we could also be doing here is we could be going to the waffle board and making sure that this new repo is also in there. And I guess we could also be voting on these things if we're sort of following the process. So now, if I can't remember, is that the button? Install WaffleBot. Gosh, that sounds painful. What, am I not logged into this? I think oh no, it's probably the cog that I want. There we go. Yes. So we want to add the Agile Ventures async. Oops. We now have the API client as well. We want to add that. So this now, we've got the Slack command, the API, and the API client. Yes.
Yeah.
So in fact, can I click there? That's going to be to Waffle IO. Oh, go on. Is it that one? Interesting. I have just eaten the waffle, but anyway, synchronicity. So yeah, we've got the test framework in there. So did you already add a ticket for that thing that you described, which is like allow?
I haven't.
So I'll just do that so I can allow user to update votes needed for those who change their mind.
Yeah, I mean, it might already be in place. I just haven't had a chance to check yet.
Yeah, or indeed well, we could quickly look at that now just to avoid confusion. So I've got AsyncVoter. No, I haven't got the thing open. This is the code there, control. I think this is what we were doing. Yeah, this is what we did last week, where I was just playing around on the command line. So here, another one there, and so we can just have a look at the source, the vote, or the vote controller. So I think it's entirely possible that we don't. We've got casting vote. I would say there, yeah, because when we built this system, that was before we built anything with Slack, and the idea of being able to revote came through the interaction with the people using it in Slack. So I think it's just not there. So it would need to be added.
So you can assign that to me then, and I'll have a look at that as well.
Sure. Well, what we could do there, I guess, since we've now got, so we've got add test framework. I mean, I guess there's also the issue which is for the client about, you know,
we need the same thing. Allow user to update vote, isn't there as well?
Right. Yeah, I was going to put in first the. Feel free to create that one yourself. I was just going to put in handle tests that hit network. The question being there: should we mock or cache? And yeah, you were then just mentioning that the client itself would need to have support updating votes for when lines change. So we could, much as I'm going to dive into code, we could get these 4 new ones created and voted upon.
Yep, makes sense.
At least get. I'm pressing that button. It's not working. Reload. I'll get the Slack up in the background. In the AsyncVoter channel. /voter. Add test framework to API client. Is this one. And I guess it's actually, so there's like unit tests of it, and then you can get writing higher level acceptance tests, even more things. But yeah, should we? Do we need any more discussion on this before voting on it?
No, I don't think so. Not before voting. I think it will need more discussion. Well, certainly from my point of view, because I say it's something I'm new to. So.
Yeah, I mean, something that we have got is like within the AsyncVoter API, we've got both specs and we've got Cucumber features. At the top level.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have both.
Yeah.
I'm just, the functionality is quite simple though, so I don't know how you. I guess the Cucumber ones are probably going to be more appropriate than the sort of unique tests. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might be just tempted to do what I've done on the bot projects, which is like start with just being able to have some kind of test in place. Like the danger with the Cucumber is you get sidetracked setting up the world and all the different bits and pieces, and then it all takes a bit longer. Michael, did you want to vote on the setting up the test framework?
Sorry, I'll vote.
Makes me think that I want to get Cucumber stuff set up on the oh gosh, what is it? Yeah, on the bots. Okay, and so yeah, Michael and I've gone for simple, and Brent, you've gone for medium.
Purely because it's new to me. Yeah, if you guys say it's simple, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
I think I hope to demonstrate at the end of this session that it is simple, and if I get stuck, we can say it's a medium. But so, and I'm going to assign this to me because I'm hoping that I'm going to show you how I can do this, and I'll put that into ready there. Okay, so then we have allow the user to update their vote, and this is actually on the API side.
Yeah.
So we've got adjust API to allow updating of votes. Now, but I guess the interesting thing here is kind of the interesting thing here is that in order to record all the information that somebody like Michael might want, is we might not just want to update it, we might want to kind of store like the fact that the vote took place and that they changed it subsequently.
So had a new vote and make that a current vote or something.
It's well, I think it ends up requiring potentially a change to the model. Like what we would need is to have something like, so if we look at the model for the vote model there, at the moment, the vote just consists of a story, a size, and a user ID. Yeah. I think what we might need to do is have a date in there. And so rather than updating a vote, if someone makes a second vote, that just gets added as another vote.
Yeah.
And then when we, and then there's so you can say, we'll take your last vote or the average of your votes or whatever it is. So I see you both voted on it.
Have like a vote history, right?
Yeah, so we would have a vote history, but then when one was showing the summary, one could choose to see the entire summary or what was the last vote from everybody or what have you. Yeah.
Right.
Eventually one day, democracy throughout the world will be running on this infrastructure, so, we better get it right. That's, haha. Okay, interesting. So Michael and I have gone for medium this time, and Brent has gone for simple.
Yep. I originally went for medium, actually, but then when we talked about just adding some additional fields so that we could distinguish which was the latest vote, I felt, yeah, that's fairly straightforward. But yeah, again, if we need to have more thought about this, then yeah, I'm happy to go with medium as well.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. I mean, I was starting to think more complex because it's like, oh, it's not just as simple as updating it. It's that we have to create a new vote. But then actually, it just becomes adding a date field to it, which itself is quite straightforward. I guess I was then thinking about the knock-on effects of, what I guess the story controller, when it then finds it, it's just going to return it and show all the votes with the dates. So maybe actually in that sense, it is kind of quite simple. And the thing that would be complex would then be creating those new views for the story controller that would be show me all the latest votes, not just all the votes. Latest votes per user. So actually, you've kind of convinced me, Brent. Actually, it probably should be simple. Michael, how do you feel?
Yeah, go with simple.
All right. So we've got that there. So that's allow these vote there. So then we've got one on handling tests that hit the network, which is something that Michael and I have worked on before with some in the Agile Voter bot setup. So this is like testing network activity. That was one of my motivations actually to get to put the Agile bot to the sword, which I did, and replace it with bits of Ruby, run with RSpec, mocking and caching and what have you, because I don't know if you recall, Michael, I mean, that the experience that we had using mocking, different kind of mocking and caching libraries in that CoffeeScript Hubot setup was kind of painful. Am I misremembering it?
I think we never really properly tested the network, right? On Hubot.
I think we ended up adding mocks.
Right.
And my memory of it is that it was like very, very specific. Like it could return you you could stop out a network call So
Right,
and then
and it would return you a certain
and it would
response.
return that thing. But like for example, if you then failed to call it on that endpoint, it wouldn't tell you.
Wouldn't fail.
It wouldn't fail.
Right.
So I don't know if there is now better mocking support, but it's
It was a lot of manually written code, it felt like. But I kind of spent a day or two and forced it.
Yeah, you definitely got it working, but I remember it being.
That, I think, saved the Agile bot for a year or so, and then you just killed it anyway.
I did, yeah, because it was costing us money. It had to die, you know. Sometimes
His lack of compassion.
well, I mean, it's like I was thinking about the food that I was going to feed my children, and I was thinking about the Agile bot and all the work that you and myself and Sam Pretty had put into it, and I just felt I want to feed my children with that money. So I'm a callous man.
You know, we could have moved it to Azure if we really wanted to save it.
Oh, that's true. If we wanted to save money, yeah, but then I had to think about all the time that I would have to spend to do that. I mean, anyhow, so. Yeah, I'm feeling that the JavaScript testing ecosystem is improving, and I'm optimistic that there's maybe a better solution available. So yeah. Anyway, I've voted. Michael, do you wanna vote? Okay. So we've all gone for medium. So that's good.
That's on an optimistic outlook.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get that over here. Going to get dark outside of my screen. I have to reduce the brightness of my screen before my eyes burn out. And then we've got support updating the votes through this is now in the client needs to be able to like do that thing that we are hoping that the what's it called that we will implement on the API. So client to be able to update votes. So, and of course, this becomes dependent on that other thing, and I should actually be able to like indicate that in the ticket. Any questions or thoughts about this one? So it's going to depend on it's 88. There is like a syntax to refer to this, which is AsyncVoter API 88.
Yeah, so I think with this one, if we decide that we are just going to create a new vote, then actually we don't need to do anything unless we just have the update have the same functionality as the create.
Right, it could just be that submits it, and it would require the change that the date was also submitted across the wire, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, it would be a change to the create rather than the having a new function.
I think that's what RESTful's supposed to be all about, is like reusing the same things. And clients do it like that. Or do I have to like do then Agile Ventures in front of that? Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we can reveal those, and we've also said simple, and there we go. All right. We've done some synchronous voting for the AsyncVoter project. Okay, and I've moved that so it's below the other one. So I mean, I guess in principle, we could, that's a good session. The same limit's not here. I do reflect that. I kind of like sort of try and focus on a different project each day. And gosh, if we could get more people involved in Agile Ventures, and I mean, it's so wonderful to have the two Nicks now involved in local support. I mean, it's fantastic what you're doing, Brent, with that, the group pairing session and so on. I think all of this, all of the projects, it would make more sense to have more people involved. Having three of us here today is great, of course, but I guess the quick thing I did sort of say that I might kind of try and pick off that adding the test framework, and I don't think I can help myself, but let me just see if I remember how to do that. But so what I was going to do was I was going to check out once we add tests to the AP client to make it sort of happen. And so can't remember here. So we've got npm install save dev mocha and chai would be two things that we would want there. And then, so now if we go, can't be that one, that's far too much code. What have I done with, no, I can't see the screen, it's not bright enough. Window, client. There we go. Yeah, so you've got your test.js and we've got the client there. Now, I guess in the first instance, I could just add, so you've got your test.js there. I guess I'm just tempted to add
a folder. Oh,
well, I was just going to even add the spec.js.
Yep.
And get something running. I think this is like terribly so. I'm such a fly-by-night person, but so then I think we require. I'm going to get this totally the wrong way around. Is it? Yep. It's now too long ago. I can't remember the precise. I mean, we end up doing like this. The syntax we will be able to use is we can do like describe, a simple test.
Aren't you going to want to import?
Yeah, I am.
Requires like Ruby.
Yeah, I was just going to write out what I know that I do remember, like this. Blah, 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 function, and then expect true to be true, like so.
Do you need like a done or anything with this, or
not with? We might ultimately, as we get onto waiting things. I would normally just start off with getting something that. But yeah, so we're going to need. Is it import star from Mocha? I feel like that's wrong. Many different things, and then import. What I can probably do actually is.
Are you set up? So this is set up for ES6. Is that supporting here?
I don't know. We'll find out. I was going to look at my history of. There we go. Node tests rep. There you go. That was it. This is me like repping through creating. Yeah. So npm mocha and chai, and this actually doesn't have the code. It just shows me the failures that I got from the individual things. Ha 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 ha. That's so. I guess does that end up in my temp?
Oh, he's doing requires. Okay, like he's doing requires.
Yeah, I mean, I can probably speed this up by looking at the. Where is it? We've got this one because we've got our specs in here. Yeah, so they're doing like var assert require chai assert. So
what project's that from? Oh,
that's our API thing. So
that's because we're not set up with Babel and stuff, right?
I guess so. So we can get the expect thing out of that, and I guess then I have to grab the describe and the hits themselves specifically from. It seems a bit ridiculous, isn't it? I felt sure that there was a simpler way to do that. I think if we just do require, I think we can just do require.
Mocha, right? Require Mocha.
Yeah.
Chai's the matchers, but Mocha's
the
framework or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna need like a.
Or just. There you go. So.
I don't think you can do poetry mode. Can you do poetry mode?
Oh, probably not. So then I can just do nodes. Oh, but I think I have to run it through Mocha, don't I? Yeah, there's actually a. So that's the right. That was the package JSON.
Yeah, that has got the test line in it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to replace that with something like Mocha spec .js. Let's just try that again. Then I can do npm test. There we go. Okay. Yeah. I think we're getting somewhere. And so that's actually, it's like to equal like that. There you go.
Cool.
There you go.
Okay. But yeah, so I can read up now. Now I know we're using Mocha and Chai. I can.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of using the expect thing. I mean, the interesting thing then is, you know, at the moment, we probably in here, we don't really have any easily pick-offable kind of units to test, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like all of these, calling any of these would involve hitting a URL endpoint. So, yeah. I mean, unless one wanted to extract, you know, things that assemble bits and pieces. Go on, Michael.
What do you like for mocks, Sinon?
I have used Sinon in the past. I mean, and that was the other thing, actually, when we were working on remember, Michael, we were working on the Hangout API thing, and what's funny is that JavaScript is so mockable out of the box. I mean, we could like reach into the REST client and say, when there's a get function called, return this. You know what I mean? Like, it's often with the mocking stuff, it's difficult to see what the mocking actually buys for us. I mean, unless it would do that thing, which is spying on it and saying if this method doesn't exist. But of course, JavaScript is so lax and loose, you can call anything on anything, and it's always like, hey, whatever, man, it's cool. But I guess what I will just quickly do there is I will.
You mean the verifying doubles and all that stuff?
Yeah,
like
which Jasmine supports well, but then in terms of node testing, people seem to have moved away from Jasmine when it's like if it's on the server side. So this is like, let's first do test unit test. And we can do, oh yeah, Vim in the house. Okay, so that's in there for reference. I guess I could just put it straight to master, but yeah, it's a good thing. Like if we're using Mocha and Chai, and then we've got like, what's our mocking options? Guess Sinon, I guess Chai spies. Ooh. But so, I mean, it's one of the difficulties with the Node ecosystem is that there's so many options. But I guess, has anybody written a recent blog on testing network interactions with JavaScript or Node? Anybody got anything sensible to say about that recently? Okay, Yakback. Record and playback HTTP interactions in Node.js.
VCR as well, yeah.
VCR is Ruby.
Yeah.
We love VCR. Well, we did.
Yeah. Until what?
Well, until you ended up killing what did you end up killing? You killed Puffing Billy, right?
I haven't killed Puffing Billy. I mean, Puffing Billy and VCR are still in place, but I think we're
just not using them in Stripe testing, right?
We've removed them from the Stripe testing because it just became a bit of a black hole, and I definitely question. They're a real problem for new users coping with the changes in the cache files and so on. There's something more is needed. Go on.
Can be good experience.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of realistic, right? I mean, a lot of projects have.
Well, my sense is actually that at scale, people tend to be doing more webmock than they do VCR, to be honest.
You think so, Webmock?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and certainly for some of our, yeah, I think there are challenges associated with VCR and Puffing Billy if you're repeatedly onboarding new people. That doesn't mean that we should necessarily stop using VCR and Puffing Billy. We just need some way of making it like you're less likely to impale yourself on the on it as you go through. I have a Yakback Flickr. I have a feeling, Michael, we looked at Yakback and a couple of other similar ones when we back in the day. Yeah, I mean, I think that the these things that do record and playback are nice in principle. You then have this issue of the recordings that you made going stale, and what you have with the playback is it doesn't check that the requests that you expect to be making are being making. It's just sort of providing like a playback environment,
like
and
a
if
stub.
you then whereas a stub can check that you made, if you've got some sort of spy, you can check that the request that you were expecting was actually made. I mean, depending upon the setting on these things, if a unexpected one is made, it can alert you, but it won't alert you if the request is not made for these kinds of things. Although there are lots of alternatives. And it comes back to for the complexity of what we have, it like you can see here, like Brent, just out of interest, how long do you think it took you to write the client? Could you put a time figure on that?
Yeah, not very long at all. Maybe an hour maximum.
Right, and it would then be ironic to spend 10 hours getting set up with the acceptance test framework, if you know what I mean. So it's not that all the testing and all the different layers aren't worth it, but it often seems ironic when the tools are being set up to allow us to build things so quickly and easily. Anyway, that's a separate philosophical point. I guess what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put some links to different libraries. I feel like we looked at Yak. Do you remember looking at Yakback, Michael?
We looked at something. I'm not sure if it was Yakback. I think it might have been something else.
I feel like we looked at that, and then another one. I feel like I remember looking at this and saying, "Oh yeah, inspired by VCR. That's going to be great." And then it wasn't so great. But the open source software gets better over time if it's active. I mean, this has got some updates recently. So this is like Node.js version of VCR. I feel like there was some other. Yeah, Sepia. Yeah, that was the one I think we used ultimately. But that one is now not being updated in even longer.
I think we use Sepia, yeah. But somebody's saying in the issues on Yakback that they haven't really been doing some stuff with this lately, and he's like forked it or whatever.
Oh yeah.
He's like got his own thing called Talkback.
Yeah.
It's basically a fork that he's been maintaining.
The same in Sepia. Somebody has made a thing called Replayer, which so that's what's the name of the new version of Yakback?
Talkback.
Talkback.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously this is just some guy.
Oh yeah. Well, similarly for the Sepia, like the person who's forked it, it's then got 9 stars. Again, it's yeah. My is project a new library. Yeah, somebody else here. They've called something called Talkback. They've got a few more stars, and it's updated a little bit more recently. my intuition is that there's kind of like I feel like things like VCR and Puffing Billy they're used more in the Ruby world, but it's still a little bit of a minority thing. Like I think the bigger proportion of people are using WebMock, and I think that's like it's then even a smaller proportion of folks in the Node community that are using these kind of caching systems. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I wonder what they're really doing.
Well, I think if they're doing anything, I think they're doing mocking. Like if we look at, for example, WebMock, let's look at how many, like that's got there, how many stars compared to Ruby VCR.
I think the problem with
go on
with mocking though is it because obviously you want to know if the client breaks when somebody changes something in the API, and if you're mocking, you're not going to know that, are you?
Right, but you wouldn't know it in the caching system either.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking. Do we need a development instance that we test against? I know it's going to slow I know it'll slow the test down, but
yeah, that's another. I mean, and that's, for example, like Stripe, they provide a whole test instance that you can hit against, and it just doesn't care. It'll just, and you can then see the data as well, and that's maybe a better approach. I mean, I guess this is caching. Yeah. It's interesting to see actually that VCR is more popular than WebMock in terms of the number of stars that it has, which I'm slightly surprised about actually. I mean, VCR uses WebMock under the hood in places, but that is interesting. So maybe VCR is more widespread than I think, and I'm just not using it correctly.
Or maybe we're just geniuses and everybody else is just cargo coding.
Indeed. The chances of us being geniuses is probably quite small, but yeah, I think that's an excellent suggestion though from you, Brent, which is, it's like have a test server to run tests against. There's caching, and then there's mocking. Yeah, and I mean it's almost.
Yeah, I think it might make sense for us to just have a test bed server or something.
Yeah. I mean, like we can cheaply have one of that, and then it is the code, and we make sure it stays up to date, and
it even has it might be a good thing because it's ultimately our own API that we're hitting. So
yeah, right.
It's not like we're hitting some third party's API all the time.
Yeah, so I think we've got like test double sign on and mockery are
Although I mean, with CI and stuff, it could. That's the thing is with even if we're testing against our own endpoint in CI, we could get failures intermittently because of internet traffic and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things to do there is you can have the CI only run against the mocks and not necessarily run against the network things. Although interestingly, I mean we have so many JavaScript failures in many of our CI things that we might as well be encountering network failures. We haven't managed to isolate ourselves from that. Maybe it's reduced the level of this, that, and the other, but yes. I mean, also it's like, I think one of the big things here is, like if we were all on really high salaries to be building something that, a very large group of wealthy people were going to be using, and it was like, right, when this fails, you're going to be called up in the middle of the night by angry people who want to take money from you. Then it's kind of like the level of infrastructure and layers of safety that you want to put in place are perhaps different than, if you're like, we're not sure how important a piece of infrastructure this is going to be. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Mockers, GitHub mockery. It would still
knock. There's knock.
Right. Yeah, that would we were using that as well.
Kind of. Yeah. Didn't really like it that much.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, what? I think the really interesting question for me is, like, you know, is there some kind of
maybe people in JavaScript world just don't test.
I think they test less.
They don't test very much per se. Test much less than Ruby.
And I think that varies because there's a lot of different people in JavaScript, and I think it varies a lot across the different ranges.
Right.
It's not. I can't seem to find them.
I think if there was like a community of people that were like hardcore, like as hardcore as Ruby was back in the day about testing. Then
yeah, well, I think the Node community is large enough that there are groups within it that are very, very testing focused, and other groups that are much less testing focused. And I think that there's.
What's interesting is that there's nobody kind of like there's no like coalescing of like. Maybe it's just part of the problem with JavaScript in general that everybody wants to create their own projects. Like it seems like nobody's like together and like supporting some kind of rational solution. It seems like everybody's just doing whatever.
It's a big
like coalescing there. It's just like
divergent. Well, although I mean, what I am impressed with is the way that they've now got lock files for the package.json or the stuff that's been installed, which they didn't have, and that I sense that it's becoming more dependable and more reliable as more and more people use it.
But are they starting? I think they're starting to standardize a lot of things.
Yeah.
Starting to standardize because they're not like. I think before they were like, oh, we want everything. And people are starting to say you should have like defaults out of the box,
right.
Just like rather than we want the flexibility to do whatever we want means that you have to choose what to do like up front.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I'd actually say, Brent, given the amount of time that Michael and I have burnt on some of these things in the past, that actually like. I think we should. The test server thing sounds simple and fast, and I think rather than anticipating problems with it, we should maybe just do it, and then when if we discover later on that there's some big problem with CI, we can then look at some of the other solutions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and I think that's a real test, because the whole point of the project is to talk to an API. So.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And we control both ends, and we've got them both on the same server, and the communication latencies won't be too low. And yeah, I think it's fine. So I guess then, it's about. I mean, I've got that little test framework in there. Did you want to be assigned to some of these, Brent? You were. I mean,
you can assign me to the supporting updating votes and allow users to update votes. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah, and I guess Michael, are you interested in working on anything?
Maybe I don't know offhand.
Okay. I mean, I think in principle you could set up the test server yourself, Brent, but maybe that's easy. If you're taking on those two, maybe I should try and do this one.
That's a Doku, right?
That's a Doku thing, and then add some. I mean, I've created the test framework already, so I could.
If I could do that I'll do that with you if you want.
Oh, okay.
We have, if we have some kind of time that we agree on, because I'd like to learn more about just how we're doing Doku.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I think we're done. Anything else that we need to resolve?
I can't think of anything. No, I think I'm cool now.
I think we voted on 4 stories. We got one thing done. We assigned. It's like actually a that's what how the meeting's supposed to work. What strikes me actually is just how difficult it is to get into people's minds what it is we do in Agile Ventures, and how the scrums work and everything. And I don't know. I mean, we need basically someone to make a documentary, maybe David Attenborough, about how it all works, get it on national television, and then people will just know, and we won't have to do all this explaining to people. I have this terrible problem that I keep thinking that everybody understands what's in my head, and they just don't.
Yes.
Working on those communication skills. Great to see you, gentlemen. I guess I'll see you maybe tomorrow.
Yep, certainly.
All right.
Bye.
Yep. See you both tomorrow. Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.